Welcome to British Biomedicine Institute. Today, Dr. Pramod Khatri, Medical Director at British Biomedicine Clinical Trials, is going to teach you a simple topic named as post-marketing pharmacovigilance practice at FDA. So the objectives are, after this, you will be able to gain a knowledge on post-marketing safety reporting regulations and guidelines. You will be able to know SADR, Suspected Adverse Drug Reactions proposed rule. You will be able to know AERS, Adverse Event Reporting System, and you will be able to know the use of pharmacovigilance practice at FDA. So under the Office of Surveillance and Epidemiology, or we also call it as OSE, the main mission is to evaluate product risk and promote safe use of medical items for the general population. There are basically three divisions of OSE. First one is your DDRE, Division of Drug Risk Evaluation. Next one is DMETS, Division of Medication Error and Technical Support. And the third one is DSRCS, Division of Surveillance, Research and Communication Support. So basically there are various regulations like your 310.305. Basically these are grandfathered drugs like your pre-1938s. According to 314.80 regulation, they deals with post-marketing drugs. According to rule or regulation 3.14.98, they deal with generic medicines, whereas 600.80 they deals with biological drug regulations. So basically no reporting is required for over-the-counter drugs except for NDA switched over-the-counter products, or if it is timed release dosage form, as it is in accordance with 21 CFR 310.502A section 14. So in accordance with 21 CFR 314.80, the side adverse drug reaction or event can be defined as if there is a death, life-threatening position, hospitalization, either it is initial or prolonged, there is a permanent disability, there is a congenital anomaly, or if there is a important medical event, then all these can be related to as SAE. SADR proposed rule here is to codify ICH developed guideline toward global harmonization. It can increase quality of reports. It can include medication error. There can be a timely acquisition, evaluation, and submission of safety information to promote public health. So, in accordance with AERS, Adverse Event Reporting System, basically it was implemented in 1997 and the database originated in 1969, also known as SRS. So basically, SRS full form is Spontaneous Reporting System. It was migrated with the mapping of Constart to Medra, and it is basically a more structured data, more detailed coding terminology, and it has a greater capacity, and basically it usually accepts electronic submissions in the form of E2BM. So basically under the type of reports, there can be manufacturer reports, they can be direct report, and manufacturer reports, they are mandatory and they are the 94% of the total reports which are being received by the respective FDA. So here healthcare professionals, consumers, and literature surveys, they all are helpful in capturing the reports. And basically if a report has to be submitted within 15 days, if it is a foreign or domestic, or if there was a serious or unexpected or unlabeled drug reaction. And periodic safety update reports, basically they are submitted quarterly for 3 years from the approval and then annually. Whereas your direct report, basically these are the voluntaries, and they lead to only 6% of only reporting, and they are again reported by consumers and healthcare professionals. So the major limitation of spontaneous reporting are: there can be a passive surveillance system, underreporting still exists, the quality of report can be incomplete or it will be variable, there can be the chances of increasing duplicate reporting, and the incidence rate cannot be determined because numerator is uncertain and denominator can only be projected. So under your pharmacovigilance practice, basically it applies to your PMS, post-marketing activities, and it can involve all activities which are related to monitoring of a product safety by collecting, analyzing, detecting, monitoring and assessment of adverse effects or the risk of the medicinal products. So in the element of adverse event report, basically they provide us the detail related to adverse events, and here we will be getting information from the baseline patient status, their age, comorbid conditions, concomitant medicines which a patient is taking, and any risk factors. And here we also need information on your detailed therapy details like your dose, date and duration of use. We can also check a temporal relationship with a drug. We can have information on dechallenge and rechallenge, and we can also use methods of diagnosis for adverse events, and we can also use clinical courses of adverse events including outcome, and lab results at baseline and during event can also be used to report adverse events. So under your safety evaluation report review, basically the main mission is to identify and assess previously unrecognized or unlabeled serious adverse reactions. And basically they usually hands-on daily review of all 15 days and direct reports like your monitor. They can also monitor any safety issues including non-adverse events. Most intensive monitoring is being provided by the Safety Evaluator Report Review for the last several years, and new molecular entity, but they continue over the drug lifetime. The principle of case evaluations are basically they can be show the disease occurrence in expected time. There can be absence of symptom prior to exposure. There can be positive dechallenge or rechallenge. It can be consistent with pharmacological effects. It can be consistent with non-effect in the class. Event can be identified in the clinical trials, and there can be an absence of alternative explanation. So under your safety signals, basically these are the new unlabeled adverse events which are being identified through the pharmacovigilance, and an unobserved reaction in a labeled event in its severity and specificity, and it can be due to new food or new drug interaction, and it can be newly identified at risk population. So in order to identify the safety signals, they are basically dependent on good reporting practice to acquire quality case information in order to perform case level review or case series. Basically, they can acquire complete information during initial contact and subsequent follow-up. And they can also entail a focus line of questioning. Safety issue of interest can also be identified. AERS search for related cases. We can also use METRA at PT level, or we can also use customized search, broad or narrow as appropriate, as they can combine various METRA terms or level at one search. Case definition can also be established or case can be reviewed, and We can also use literature, WHO and foreign regulators in order to identify potential signals. Data mining can also play a critical role in identifying adverse events. Basically here we can compare the observed frequency of reports for specific drug or event, combining to expected frequency of report for that adverse event in entire AERS database. And it can also provide additional support to case report evaluation and other safety informations. Under your epidemiological analysis, basically the reporting rate can be equal to case or estimated usage, or we can say dispensed or prescriptions. We can also compare the background rate. There can be a comparison of drug with the same class. There can be a comparison of drug with similar indication. And there can be interpretation. Sometimes interpretations can become difficult to identify. Additional study in longitudinal database can also be helpful in your identification of epidemiological data. And we can also review phase 4 studies in the form of PSUR, and they can also be helpful in capturing or gathering unlabeled adverse drug reactions. So, in the communication with CDER, Central Drug for Evaluation Research, basically there can be an open communication and collaboration with Office of New Drug, OND, or Office of Compliance, OC. There can be a pre-approval safety conferences. There can be a safety concern with OND, Office of New Drug. There can be a safety question response, either formal consultant, email, or in person. There can be a written communication in the form of summary or in the form of analysis. And there can be an assistance in decision-making process for safety-related regulatory actions. So under your potential regulatory actions, basically there can be a labeling change, like your Dear Healthcare Professionals letter, which can be given to the healthcare professionals like your pharmacist, your doctor, nurse, who are helping in identifying the rarest form of adverse events. There can also be a targeted education and outreach programs. There can be a reminder, or there can be a fail-safe systems to provoke common clinical information, and there can be a product withdrawal if signs and symptoms continue to come in common population. So I hope you have gained a lot of clinical information through this presentation. Please like, share, subscribe our YouTube channel named as British Biomedicine Institute. Good luck, goodbye.